Saturn in Gemini. All right, in this video, I'm going to be discussing Saturn in Gemini, how to master this Saturn, and everything you need to know about having Saturn in Gemini. Okay, now before I begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, hit that subscribe button, especially if you've liked my previous videos and you want to be notified of my future video. All right, help me grow the channel, and let's get started. Now, when you have Saturn in Gemini, this is similar to having Saturn in the third house. So what this means is that even if you have your Saturn in a different house, like say you have Saturn in the sixth house, Saturn in the third house still applies to you, and you will find that it resonates with you, and you also need to study that information as well. You need to master having Saturn in the third house as well, okay? So that's very important because Gemini rules the third house. So don't forget about having Saturn in the third house. Study that as well, okay? Now, this person, in order to mature and become a true adult, they have to master what Gemini represents. Okay, I'm going to say that again. This person, in order to mature and become a true adult, they have to master what Gemini represents. Right? Saturn is all about maturing and becoming an adult. Let's talk about what Gemini represents. Being a good communicator and speaker, learning language and words, and using the hands as a skill. So these are the things that Gemini is associated with. It's associated with being a good communicator, a good speaker, being a good learner. You know how to learn. You know how to take in information, learn that information, and use that information. You're good with language. You're good with words. You're good with using the hands as a skill. Okay, so meaning you're good with your fine motor skills specifically. All right. So this is what you have to master. When you have this, you have to master being a good communicator, good speaker. You have to master learning, master language and words, and master using your hands as a skill in some kind of way. All right. That's very important. Now, this person, when living out Saturn in Gemini in a healthy way, they're excellent communicators and learners. They master language and words. They master using their fine motor skills and hands for work, and they're masterminds, okay? So this is when Saturn in Gemini is being lived out in a healthy way. You're an excellent communicator. You're very good at learning. You master language and words. You master using your fine motor skills and hands for work. And you become a mastermind, meaning you master your mind and you master being a good thinker, okay? This is when Saturn in Gemini is being used in a healthy way and you're operating at a high vibration. So let's talk about when this person is living out their Saturn in Gemini in a negative way, okay? You're operating at a low vibration. You have a narrow, limited way of thinking. You struggle with communicating and you never overcome difficulties with learning. You spread your energy into too many things at once. You get lost in the details and you don't see the big picture. And you probably talk too much, and or your words and the way you think and speak causes problems for you. So this is when you're living out that Saturn in Gemini in a negative way. You have a narrow, limited way of thinking. You struggle with communicating and you never overcome difficulties with learning. You spread your energy into too many things at once. You get lost in the details and you don't see the big picture. And you probably talk too much, and or your words and the way you think and speak causes problems for you. Okay? So you want to make sure you're not living your Saturn in Gemini in that way. There are fears and insecurities surrounding being a good communicator, writer, and student. The ability to do multiple things at once and express your dual nature. Okay, so this is where the fears and insecurities are for you, and this is what you have to overcome. You have to overcome any fears and insecurities surrounding being a good communicator, writer, and student. You have to overcome your fears and insecurities surrounding being able to do multiple things at once and express your dual nature. All right. So this is what has to be overcome. You have to learn how to be a good communicator, writer, and student. And you have to learn how to master doing multiple things at once and expressing your dual nature and expressing how you're good at more than one thing at the same time. Now let's talk about the father. Saturn represents the father in astrology. The father is seen as a man that's good with his hands. He's a good communicator and possibly seen as a smart man. He's also seen as the type of man that does more than one thing at a time. Okay, so this is the view of the father. The view of the father is he's a man that's good with his hands, he's a good communicator, and he's possibly a smart man, an intellectual man. He's also seen as the type of man that does more than one thing at a time, like he works on multiple projects at a time. All right, so this is the view of the father. And he basically, the father is seen as Gemini like. So you may also see him as a man with a narrow, limited way of thinking. You may also see him as a man who's too scattered. He spreads his energy into too many things at once and it works against him. Okay, so this can manifest in many different ways. Basically, the father is seen as a Gemini like man. Celebrity examples that have Saturn in Gemini. Let's talk about the celebrity examples: Eminem, Mick Jagger, Jimi Hendrix, and Snoop Dogg. What's funny about all of this is all of these guys are musicians. Literally, all of these men are musicians. Gemini is associated with communication, speaking, writing. To be an effective musician, you have to know how to communicate well, speak well. You have to have a very good mind. You have to be a good learner, and you have to write well. A lot of musicians, they write their music. So this makes sense that all of these men are musicians, because the reason why they went on to be musicians is because music is associated with Gemini. You have to communicate, speak, think, write. And they mastered that. They mastered a very important component of Gemini energy, which is communication, speaking, writing, and thinking, connecting with others, being social. All right. So that's how we saw it with these men. Now, the thing is also, what's important to note is I guarantee you a lot of these men will tell you that this did not come easy. They had struggles with learning. They had struggles with communication. They had struggles with overcoming their mind and their negative, limited way of thinking. So although they went on to become successful musicians and successful communicators, please believe that it didn't come easy. They had to work to overcome certain things to get to that point. All right, so that's Saturn and Gemini. I hope you found value in this video. Thank you for taking the time out to watch my video. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Take care.